her comments were shaded. But that's what the original was, and that's how I got what I got. So if anybody wants to look at that, they can.
Where did you get it? Down. Call the regular meeting to order. Start with the roll call, Dawn.
Okay, roll call. Bob Kramer,
Here.
Bobby,
Here.
Janet,
Here.
Mike,
Here.
and Dawn, what? I'm here.
Got a couple sets of minutes. One is a special meeting from June 23rd. One was your regular meeting. And we need to, Bobby, can you help me with this?
I've got some changes for the regular meeting. It seemed to have left out a lot of stuff. Do you want me to go over?
Yes,
I'll
please.
read you guys and then I can give this done. You don't have to write all this down. I can give you this if we approve all it. So the meeting was called to order and then the clerk appointed Treasurer Blazovic as the meeting moderator. That's not in there. I don't know who seconded. She made the motion. I don't know who seconded it. I know it passed, but without any notes. So, but that needs to be added. It doesn't have who moved to approve the minutes of the previous meeting. And again, I don't know who that was, but that's missing. She did not put the addition, the motion of the addition by trustee Vance regarding the clerk situation, and she also moved at that time to table the hiring policy. And there was no second to that. I didn't realize that I should have done that at that time, so that was just put on the agenda. And then, the Parks Commission, it wasn't the regional Little League, so I think we should strike that word regional. And then under the consumer's easement, the motion was to approve the signature of the easement agreement. I think that should be in there because it doesn't read at all that we did approve that signature. So I think we should add that. And we don't have who motioned to adjourn again. I don't know who that was. So I would move to make those changes to the,
Bobby makes that motion. Is there support?
I support
Support.
with the amendments that we can remember to fix.
yeah, I mean, I don't know if, we don't know who moved it.
Yeah.
We can't really put it in, but if anybody remembered that they did it, I thought we could add it. That's it.
The motion and support, Jan, all in
Yes.
favor? And then we have a special meeting from June 23rd.
Who made the motion? Janet.
No.
I made the motion,
Maybe
Janet.
Jen seconded it.
Yeah.
I got that back on, don't I? Special meeting from June 23rd. Is there a motion to accept that as written, or is there edits?
Well, I typed it, so I think I got it. If anybody else sees anything. I would make a motion to accept those.
Okay, there's a motion to accept those. Is there support?
I support.
Jan supports. All in favor? Okay, then, so let's see, adopt the agenda. I would like to add set dates for our regular meeting. And that will be item number 18.
I would like to add discussion on the Dominion machine, since there was so much discussion on it at the annual meeting. I'd like to put that on the agenda so we can discuss it.
That would be number 19. motion to approve the agenda? Dawn makes that motion. Is there support?
I support.
Jan supports. All in favor? I have some correspondence here that I want to read. This has been a topic that's been going on. This was an anonymous letter that I received along with some emails, and I know the Chief Temple has received several comments. A resident on M68 is flying a flag, and you're aware of it.
I know the one you're talking about, if you can say anything, I know the one you're talking about.
Yeah, and we had the same issue earlier, we've been dealing with freedom of speech issues. Okay, so I'm driving to Alanson from Indian River, it's heavily traveled highway, I'm 68, Tuscarora Township, Sheboygan, all of a sudden I see a significant flag saying F Biden. Free for every family vacationing in our beautiful areas. Please keep the chatter down, please. Free for every family vacationing in our beautiful area to see. Very similar to a flag we saw on a boat on Indian River last summer, with kids on board that went Trump 2020 after feelings. Really, is everyone comfortable with their kids seeing this? I'm an old independent, primarily Republican. I hope for the sake of our kids and grandkids, this type of cavalier vulgarity is not the new normal. It's an embarrassment to the community we love. Hopefully this is not the best we've got. Anonymous, because this is the first time in my life I feel I need to be. We did receive email. How many calls do you think you've gotten, Chief?
Probably 10 or
10
12.
or 12 calls. It's a freedom of speech issue, and I've had several diehard Republicans tell me if it said just the opposite, he would be, and Democrats both say that it's out of line. It's a freedom of speech issue, and we can't do anything about it. But I did write a letter back respectfully asking them to remove it, and I stopped at the house, and there was no answer, so I sent them a letter. I have not heard back from them. I doubt I will, but we were talking about, it just gives our community such a black eye. It's just, we've come to a point where we need to reel things in the civility. So, yes, Bob, do you have a comment?
I spent a lot of time in the military, active duty, National Guard, Army Reserve to protect freedom of speech. But this kind of vulgarity that I have to expose my grandchildren to every time I drive by there is absolutely disgusting. It's a disgrace. And it's just really sad that, it's just really sad. I get the First Amendment stuff, but my gosh, not even if you're not church going, I mean, there's got to be some standard of decency here. And I really think we ought to talk with the county, who has a new sign ordinance, to see what can be done within the limits of the freedom of speech, as we read in some of the documents written by the lawyers. I just hope he takes it down for the community's sake and for our children's sake.
That's more or less what I put in the letter. I said your First Amendment rights are protected by the Constitution.
I understand.
Unfortunately, our children and grandchildren's eyes are not. And I've had parents call me and say, I cannot believe that I had to let them.
And there could have been other ways to express
Yeah.
the same.
Yeah. We're gonna go, yes, Vicki, can we wait a public comment?
Sure.
Okay.
And I was just gonna ask a question, but yes,
Okay.
definitely.
Okay, we're gonna move on to number 6, motion to open the public. Is there a motion to open public hearing regarding the intent to file the application with USD Rural Development? Is there, Bob makes that motion, is there support?
I support.
Jan supports. Public comment on the intent to apply. Bob, you wanna give us a little background on that?
Yeah,
Might go
sure.
help.
Yesterday, we hit the send button on a USDA application for $6.3 million for grants and loans for the area north of Max, but not including Mac, all the way to Columbus Beach on the north side of the river, all the way up to Hemlock, and to the west of Straits Highway. This public hearing is on our intent to apply for yet another phase, which is Mack Avenue to the Sturgeon River, including Sturgeon Island, and to the west of Straits Highway at an approximate cost of $5.2 million. So that's what we're here to have a public hearing about.
public comments regarding this intent to apply? We'll close public comment. And we need a roll call and support for, you wanna do roll call? Yes, do you have another comment?
I think I have to move to have a verbal resolution to
Okay.
support the application.
Okay, motion to have a verbal resolution to support. Is there support for Bob's motion?
Yes,
Jan
there's.
supports. Okay. Roll call? You just call them out one at a time.
Yes,
Yes. Mike?
Yes.
Bobby?
Yes.
Jan?
Yes.
Thank you.
Make a motion to close the public hearing.
There's a motion to close the public hearing.
second.
Bobby makes that motion, Bob seconds. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Then we need a motion, number 8, to open up the public hearing for fiscal year 21-22. Motion to open that one up.
I'll make it.
Dawn makes that to, is there support?
Support.
Bobby supports. Public hearing on the budget for fiscal year 21-22. Do we need a discussion going through it? You've got the, spreadsheets on it.
Are we taking public
Discuss.
comment on this?
Public comment, yes.
On the budget?
Yes.
Yes.
I may not have the most recent data. It may be that the actual data that came out from the workshop missed the last check run. That's just a guess on my part. I have been at these budget meetings for a number of years now, and there seems to be a misunderstanding about deficit budgeting, and it seems like we continue to do this year after year. If this budget is adopted and we spend at this level, this township will rip through the general fund in less than 5 years. And you will have an insolvent township and an emergency manager. I see that most years, we rein back some spending from what we budget. If we're able to do that over the course of the year, I'm not sure why we don't make those intentions known in the budget so that you get credit for, and don't create unnecessary chaos by telegraphing that you intend to spend more money than comes in. So I would ask for some restraint again this year, to get some pencils out and some calculators out. The current budget spends $160,000 of the general fund, which is just over $500,000. I just don't see how that's sustainable. So I know we're under the gun to get this done. I would recommend that next year we start this process much earlier, and that we get the public involved in February, March, April-ish, so that we're not forced to once again adopt a budget that just does not balance. So if you guys could put your heads together and allow the public to comment so that we could have a balanced budget, that would be a good long-term strategy for the township. Thank you.
Jan, can you tell the people your credentials, please?
Oh, I'm a CPA. I have an accounting business degree from Wayne State. I've been doing this for about 30 years.
Did you get a clear explanation how we do this?
Yeah, and like Jan said, we understate because we're projecting, we understate the revenue and overstate our expenses to give room to move it around. I looked back and I don't see that we have actually dipped into the fund balance as far back as I could see, aside from the Parks Department. The Parks Department, I believe, is in danger of running out of fund balance sooner, probably than 5 years. And I am not an accountant, so I don't know if that is standard in township accounting. But that is how the budget has always been prepared and adopted in the township. And it's definitely worth doing some research. Again, it's not in my,
Right.
bailiwick, but to know why we do that, I don't. I just understand how we do it, but I'm not aware of the reasoning behind it. So it's definitely something, you know, as a board and Dawn as the, you know, the person who will be doing that the next go around, it's definitely something to look at.
Appreciate that. Public comment on the budgets? Yes, sir.
Just Scott Swanson. Could you, before you adopt the budgets, tell people what each of the budgets are, their total amount, and also what the millage levy will be for this year compared to next year, just so everybody knows?
Yep, that will be in a general appropriations resolution. I will give the millage.
Okay, you'll read it off, so.
Yes, I will.
Okay, thank you.
Public comment? Public comment is closed. You want to make a motion to, well, I guess we have to do the General Appropriations Act first. No, we have to close the public hearing first.
Well, we gotta look, do we,
You want to discuss the, more,
Yeah.
I'll read off everything here. In the General
Um,
Appropriations,
yeah.
that
I
has the
think so.
millage on it.
I have a question though.
Sure.
And I apologize that I missed the budget workshop and I wouldn't have had this there anyway, because John was here yesterday and we were discussing, that the assistant, his assistant Terry has been working for us for 3 years. She has not had a salary increase in that whole time, so he asked if we could possibly, add that into the budget. She is fabulous, she does great work, she's never asked for a raise, and I think, you know, it's something to consider. He said anything would, you know, he didn't suggest a percentage. He said police are getting 1% this year, 3% I think kind of seems to be a standard, but he asked if we would consider that in the budget before we adopted it. I'm putting it out there for you guys.
Yeah.
I have a question, so the salaries aren't broken out, so I don't know what.
She is paid, so she works, per hour. She's hourly employee at $15 an hour at this point. And that's what she was hired in at. I would say, I don't know, Mike, do you know if that's, I would say
If
she's.
it's in the budget, I mean, we can't change these numbers right now. These
Right now
budgets.
we can't.
Right now we can't.
Okay.
Unless we adjourn the meeting, we'll change the millage rate.
It changed.
You said if we.
It's out of our general.
That's what I mean. If it's within our budget, we can do that.
Okay, so
Yeah,
never mind.
That's what I'm
She's
saying.
not allowed.
I think I got that one right.
Okay. All right, I did not know
So,
that.
I mean, so when we went through the numbers with Doug, is he here, Doug?
Yes.
Hi, Doug. When we went through the numbers, I mean,
I'm sorry, could you adjust your microphone?
oh, sorry, oh, I didn't turn it on, sorry.
Thank you so much.
So when we went through the numbers, I mean, we padded a couple of, items. And I know Sue told me that we're able to, within that account, we're able to move some funds around.
So we
So,
can, yeah,
so,
we can
yeah,
talk
so,
about that.
yeah, so
Okay,
there's,
perfect.
I mean, you could do that, you guys could do that.
Right. Are you talking about for her
Different
raise?
department though.
raise.
That's a different department.
Different,
Yeah,
she's in the
it's
assessing.
It's the
She's
assessing.
under
Oh, it's the
assessing.
assessing,
Yep,
oh,
she's under
sorry, I'm in
assessor.
the park, sorry.
That's all right.
The same
But
thing.
no,
Yeah.
I thought we
It's all under the
did.
general
Yeah.
budget.
Right?
It's all under the general budget.
Yeah, so
I
same
did not
thing.
know that we needed to do that previously.
So when can we discuss this budget? Now?
Are we discussing the whole budget now?
Let's start
Do
with
we
the
have
general. If you wanna, you have questions with the general, yeah.
Let's do it. I have a question about, the income, the revenue part. We have down here land sales and we're projecting $5,000. Do we have land for sale?
Yes,
Do we have a proposed buyer for that land?
Nope.
How long has this land been for sale?
Since I've been on the board. We
So
sold,
we have to
we sold
assume-
some.
Yeah, we have sold some.
So we have to assume that since there's no buyer sitting there waiting to sign a paper for it or anything, that this projected $5,000 is just out of the air for revenue. I suggest that we take that off. If we get it, great, but I don't think we should use it as a revenue stream when it's not. property that we have for sale.
We have the Commerce Park.
Oh, it's a
Property,
Commerce Park
yeah,
parcel.
yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, and if we sell one lot, that's a lot more than 5,000.
Right. It's a, yeah, it's.
But we shouldn't use it as part of our revenue stream if there's no reason to believe that that money is coming our way anytime soon. And I think we should take that out. If we get it, great, but we shouldn't count on it as being part of the budget. That's what I'm saying.
So I
Count
have,
the chickens before they're hatched here is what I'm saying.
I have a question as well. And I don't know if Bobby, if you know the answer to this, but under the state, the property taxes, I thought I heard somebody say that this budget does not include the summer taxes that are coming in. Is that true or not?
No, the
It's the whole, yeah.
taxable value coming in.
So
Taxes-
it is it all
Yeah.
includes
Yes.
everything? Okay.
Yep.
So this includes the summer taxes?
Yes.
Yes? Okay, so
And then what about the sales and use?
What number are you looking at?
The 574, that's the, sales and use, are we forecasting what we're gonna get?
That's
Or that's-
revenue
That's
sharing.
based on,
That's
that's,
revenue
yeah,
sharing.
that's based on state, there's a website, we checked that. Yeah, so it's all projected. COVID was projected that that number was gonna dip and we got more last year
Okay.
than we projected, so they're all projections, but it is based off of state data.
So this could be actually higher than what we're projecting?
Or lower.
Okay.
I have a general question before I go line by line. I've been doing federal budgets for 35 years, and I've never quite seen this before, so you can help me out with this. Why would we deficit spend 21%, $160,000 deficit? That's a 21.5% deficit spending. I don't get it. Educate me. Why would we
I think
deficit
what-
spend?
It's a projection.
If I showed you my book, it's a guesstimate. Building a better budget. It is, like she stated, we estimate the revenue's low and the expenditure's high.
I don't think that's proper. Maybe you've done that in the past. I don't think it's right. I think the taxpayer deserves better. I've never seen anything like this. And if I start going line by line, hey,
Stop, Jan, please,
Stop.
please, Jan.
if I start going line by line, I have items here I just don't understand.
Just for context, to let everybody know in the room here, we received the budget just like a half an hour to an hour before the workshop. So we didn't have we went through it as best we could, but we didn't have a lot of time to review it before. So some of us went home and kind of spent the weekend looking at it. So we have questions now, so that's what's going on.
So when I go line by line, I start seeing stuff like office supplies. We spent $1,500, but we're gonna double it. I don't understand that. I could understand a CPI increase, and professional expenses go from 5,500 to 7,000. And mail and postage goes up a third.
Bob, if you could, when you have a line,
Oh, okay.
refer to it, I need the number.
Yeah, sure. So, I hate to do this, but, okay, Township Trustee FICA,
Okay, what line is that?
that's 101, 101, 709.
709,
Okay, so, Kramer's pay didn't change, Vance's pay didn't change, why would the FICA go up $900 or $800? It's,
Okay, well,
That-
so, and I think I can explain that. So if you look at the original budget for 2021, it was 2,500. Then the amended budget was $4,000. So that's actually what we spent, right?
No, we spent 3,011.
That's to date,
That's
though.
to
Yeah,
date,
that's
that's
to
to date. So as of 6:30, we still have months to go this, right?
this is,
No, this is
No,
this is
no,
tomorrow's the
okay,
last
I'm
day.
thinking,
Yeah.
yep.
Yep.
okay, so it's gonna be next year, $3,111.
She could go 3,200. Again,
Well, that depends on the that's all hinges on pay, right?
Yeah, but
That's
it's
not
not
gonna
but
change.
our
Pay
pay is
isn't-
set.
Set.
Oh, that's true.
Kramer's pay and Vance's pay is set. We didn't get a raise today. Don't want one.
Don't want one.
So that needs to be changed to $3,200. And you can go line by line and you can see the same thing all the way through this. There shouldn't be a $161,000 deficit. You know, I hear the word projections, yada, yada, yada. Well, let's go high. I mean, we have a board of trustees that if you want to go over a certain amount, that board should approve it. There's too much wiggle room in here.
I think we should try to get as close to a revenue neutral budget as we absolutely can. I think it's responsible to the people, the taxpayers, to know that we're trying to be fiscally responsible. And they have to be, revenue neutral in their household. They have to figure out where the car payment is and electric and all that stuff is. We should be doing the same thing.
Can I say something, Janet?
Yes.
The budget doesn't make us, I mean, it's an outline, but to say that if our budget is projected in a certain way, that we're not fiscally responsible, I think is incorrect. Because if you look at the budget, the end budget of last year and how we spend, we're very fiscally responsible. So I think
Well, of course
that's-
you can say that, Bobby.
I think, you know,
Because
that's
if
the
you,
truth.
if
Yeah,
you
it's the
budget
truth.
high and spend low, it makes you look like a hero. Of course you can say
But if
that.
you've got budgeted
It
and.
doesn't make me look good to favor a 21%
I don't think we have
deficit.
enough money to be working with to have any issues like that. It's how the budget's been done, you guys. It can change, like I said. It can absolutely change, but can it change today when tomorrow is the beginning of our new year? I don't know the answer to that, but my thought is I don't think it can.
Thursday's the beginning of your new year.
Yeah, it's tomorrow's
It's
the
gotta
last
be
day.
tomorrow.
Tomorrow's the last day.
Yeah. So,
So anyway, as I was going down 101, 101, 709, FICA ought to be $3,200. 101, 101, 752 ought to be $1,500, not $3,000. 101, 801, 00 ought to be 5,600, not 7,000. I mean, I can go down every line and look at all this inflation.
But Bob, this, again, I know you don't like that word projection, but this is what we should have worked out last week at the budget meeting, because now.
Well,
we're
we
sitting
didn't
here-
get it enough to study it.
But you but just,
Just one thing.
no,
Can I
I'm
interject
sorry,
one thing?
Jan, this is, then I have to let Vicky make her comment,
No,
someone else
I'm a
had a
subject
comment.
matter expert, if you don't mind, and I don't say that very often.
Point of order.
Okay, that's
Point of order,
Point of order.
excuse me,
My
Jan.
Point of order.
So, but, you know, as we go through, 'em, Bob, as we go through those, like I said, we don't spend what this number is. We don't spend it. And you're right, it does make us look like heroes, but that's not what we're trying to do. We're trying to
It
be
doesn't make us look like
responsible.
heroes. It makes us look like we're free spenders.
But that's the-
I can't, you know, I ran on a platform of fiscal responsibility, and you're asking me to approve a 21.5% budget deficit. I can't do that. That $570,000 in that fund should be for special circumstances, for emergencies, or if the board says, hey, look, we want to pay 10% of a road assessment to help out, it ought to come out of there, but we shouldn't be dipping into that fund to the tune of $160,000, because if we do that every year, we'll be bankrupt in 3.625 years.
But Bob, we aren't dipping into it. We've never had to dip in it, other than the parks system. We have not dipped into it.
Well, then why don't we adjust the budget to be realistic?
And let me gather my thoughts here. This is what we set up, again, so that we're, I mean, if we were 10% off, it's the perception, we're not going to dip into, and I've been on, 12 years, I've seen us grow the fund balance. We've grown it, if I'm not mistaken.
We have, but I see what Bob's saying too. This gives us the ability to, when you
Well,
adopt the budget that
I
way.
mean,
Right?
we're paying an election inspector. We're not even gonna have an election, are we?
Yes.
No,
We are?
no, not in this fiscal year we won't.
You'll have expenses. You'll have expenses.
$6,000 for election inspector, I don't think we need one.
There's
until-
more than, there's more than one. It's a line item.
That I asked for an explanation for on the 23rd and haven't got it, 24th.
I mean, I could spend all night going line by line. I don't like what I see. It appears, I'm sure you've always done it that way in the past, but I've never seen anything like this before, and I'm just not comfortable at all. Zero. I mean, you gotta do what you gotta do, but I can't support something like
We can't
this.
operate.
And
We shut down.
so we get a special meeting, we'll do the budget. We'll have to shut down, leave, work through a special meeting and then reconvene with a different millage rate.
Well, I'm opposed to that. This isn't anything that we didn't do in the private sector. I'm sorry, but when we're getting ready to launch a vehicle, and you well know, we project the budget, we say what it's gonna cost us, it usually comes in higher, and then we spend time trying to cut money back out. It's the way it's done in the private sector. I don't have a problem with this.
I don't have a problem with it. I mean, I understand.
Well, I have a problem with it because it's not the private sector's money, it's not GM's money, it's these people's money. So I have a problem with it.
Yeah, I understand that. I understand that, but by the same token, do you think these people are gonna wanna cut somebody's salaries or somebody's health care? Because that's what we're talking about here.
No, I don't think
No, we're
I don't
not.
think that's at all. That's
No,
not true at
We don't
all.
have to do any of that.
Hold on,
That's
please,
done.
hold on.
You
Go ahead,
look at
Bob, your comment, Bob?
That's not true.
Okay. Dawn, your
When I
comment?
looked at, when I just took, for example, Parks and Recs, 40% of their budget is spent on wages and salaries and healthcare and all that stuff. So where are you gonna cut? Are you gonna cut gas? Are
Okay, you
not
wanna
gonna
go
mow
line
the
by
yard?
line? I'll show you where to cut. Where do you wanna
Okay.
start?
Yeah.
Bob, before we do that, we're gonna make a decision whether we're going to pass this budget or not, because then
Okay.
if we need to adjourn or finish the rest of the meeting.
Yeah, sure. Whatever you want.
Well, we gotta make that.
I mean,
Well,
I'll
there's
work
other
with you,
questions.
but I don't understand it. I just don't understand it.
So I make a motion that we do just what Mike said, we adjourn, we can finish the regular meeting and then we can adjourn and then go to a meeting about the budget then, so we go line
No,
by line.
it wouldn't be today, right?
So it
No.
can't be, I don't
Yeah.
care, I can
It can't
stay
be
all
today.
night.
Yeah, well, it
Gonna
can't
do
be.
that. Is there support
We
for
would
Jan's
shut.
motion?
I wanna understand, so if someone supports Jan's motion and it passes, we shut down July 1st until this is
Correct.
done. Township shuts down July 1st,
Well,
until that's done.
that should have been.
Why can't we convene tomorrow to do this? I mean,
You only
we
have to
are
have
working
18
under the
hours
gun
notice for a
now.
special meeting.
Yeah.
we're
Is there
working
support?
under the gun now.
Is there support for Jan's motion?
Yes.
Okay. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
Aye.
Okay, that motion failed. Let's continue with our discussion about the budget here.
Okay, I have some questions too then. In, let's say, the Board of Review, okay, that's on, 101-247, all right? We did not spend anything last year for education and training. Why are we proposing another $550 in that category when we didn't even use it last year?
They were not required because of COVID, right?
Yeah,
Yes,
there was
COVID.
no educational opportunities last year because of COVID. This year, beginning this year, your Board of Review has to go through, so many hours of training, so that might even be low for what they're gonna have to do. Every Board of Review member has to begin now certification.
Do we have the same Board of Review this year going in as we did last year? Is their salary the same?
Should be.
Then why are we projecting $700 more for salaries?
I don't think they're paid out. I know, because like someone didn't show up for a half a day or a meeting, maybe missed a meeting.
It may not include everyone being there all hours, so if someone that wasn't there then is able to attend a meeting, then they would get paid. So
They don't
it could go
come to
over
a
a
meeting.
half.
Yeah, I can understand that.
Yeah, I mean, there's, you guys. it's-
That's kind of
Well, these
explanations
are the
I'm
kind of
looking for.
questions we need to
What,
ask.
what'd you guys do Thursday? I mean, these numbers didn't change.
You know, when you get a bunch of paper thrown at you, 30 minutes before the meeting,
I understand
it's
that.
hard to digest.
Yeah, but you guys, this is
I've been up
the
till 3
budget.
o'clock in the morning, 2 nights in a row, trying to digest this stuff.
Yeah, we've all had a budget though, and again, not a lot of it's changed since we've all been on the board, so it's not like we're recreating the wheel here.
Well, let's go to
Yeah, you've seen the budget a million
101-704.02.
Well, 4 times,
Seven-
yeah,
Yeah,
Four.
but, I mean, I'll give Bob a little, cause he hasn't, but it's not one person's
there
job to
704?
present a budget.
704.02, office assistant, 12 grand, it's too low. I figured it out with her current rate of pay be 15.6. And then the FICA would have to be adjusted, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera, if that helps you at all, but. Then we got a contingent, where's that contingent? Oh, 101-209-94100. Come on. We spent no money on contingency, but we're gonna throw 50 grand against the wall and see if it sticks. That
Yeah,
dog don't
I have
hunt.
And that's,
and it's higher, they
That's a-
raised it,
it's a secret.
that was, that's been changed since we
From
saw
20
the last time, from
20,000.
20 to 50,000. What do we need a contingency fund for? We didn't even use it last year.
That's why we have a board of trustees. You have a special meeting if it's an emergency, and we'll take it out of the general fund if necessary, right?
That's where it comes from.
Take it out of it.
Taxable, whatever.
You take it, if you don't have the contingency, then you're taking it out
Out of the
of
general
the, what do you call it? The backup fund.
back
What's-
fund balance?
Fund balance,
Fund
thank you.
balance, yeah.
Yes, so by that, and that's been Bob, this is, and I don't know if Diane did it before Sue, because I'm only familiar, you know, with when Sue was clerk, but the way that they were trained through MTA, through the classes that they have taken, is that you put those kinds of things in there in this type of budget, because then you're not going into that fund balance, you're projecting this high and that low, and again, I don't know if it's right or wrong, I have no authority
So
there.
what kind of things would come out of a
But
contingency fund?
Ransomware, so that's what, that was one of the things that we brought up, is there, what do we have in here for if somebody hacks in and we can't get into the computer?
Well, we can't.
We've already heard all about, yes, we have to.
So it's just there and you never spend it,
We
yes.
have already heard about small towns, they're attacking small
I think
towns and
Chief got-
I
villages.
understand.
Chief, did you get hacked into ransomware?
Well, yes, 3 or 4 years ago. Fortunately, the computer they got in though didn't have any information on it.
Okay.
It was
So
my
that's-
laptop.
So it could happen anywhere, it could happen in these small
Well,
towns.
it is happening, they've been reporting it, it's been happening to small towns, I know one guy negotiated his down from
Do-
50 to 8,000.
Do you know if we have any ransomware already? I mean, you know, regular.
That's a hacker.
I mean, that, I know, I misspoke. Do you know if we have any security on the computers already? Do you know if it's adequate or not?
Yeah, I don't.
I think
It
that's
is-
part of the deal with IT, right?
It is adequate, but anything, I mean, you can always get hacked.
Well, yes, okay,
So,
so if
it's
the
adequate
contingency
for
fund is there, for instance, to purchase more ransomware, we don't even know if we need that.
Ransomware's the best.
Yeah.
We don't want that.
Yeah,
We don't buy it. Don't buy
To
that stuff.
purchase more security against ransomware, we don't even know if we need it.
No.
Cause we haven't
What
had
Dawn's
an
saying is
IT
if we
security
got
check.
hacked,
Oh, by the way,
We haven't paid
and
that.
I,
Hold on here, let's go, we're getting cluttered up here. Go ahead, Bobby, finish up.
What Dawn is saying is if we had to pay, some of these townships are having to pay these people off to get their control back, so that, and that's just an example.
Yeah, just
It
like that.
is, it's just
I
an
mean,
example.
it could
There's
be
something to
every
happen.
vehicle in Parks and Recreation breaks down and no lawnmowers work, and we have to spend money there that, you know, what Doug wants us to spend, not what we gave Doug. And then we would go to the contingency as opposed to fund balance, so.
And if we renewed, we would have to start all over again too, so let's just throw
Yeah.
money to the wind and see what the heck's going on, you know, I mean, this is,
I don't know
some
if
of
that's
this is great.
pertinent.
Yeah.
Go ahead, Bob.
I did neglect to mention to the board that IT Right is giving us a free security review. It usually costs between $10,000 and $15,000. Takes 2 to 3 weeks as part of our contract because they've never done it before. They're doing it for free. And there's a ticket in, I might have sent you a copy.
You did.
And they will let us know when they're gonna begin the review.
So if they find a deficiency, then
We got
we would have to pay to
address it.
have that, yeah.
Right, right. Well, we may not have to pay because we have a contract with them. So anyway, at 101-446-801, streets, highways, contracted services. We didn't spend any money this year, but we're budgeting 125 grand. Tell me about that one.
That, 146.
That's to pay the special assessment, right? I believe that. Is that right, Dawn? Sue
Where's
and I
that
talked about
at?
this.
Is it
It
in
says,
101?
well, it says contracted services.
It's the 101.
It's,
Right there.
Streets, highways, contracted services.
Did they have to do with the brine? You guys talked about the brine.
no.
No,
Brian don't cost
It's the
125.
payment. Let's see, let me go over here, Bob. I asked Sue because there weren't any numbers in that when I looked at the budget over the weekend and,
Yeah, but there's a separate
I mean, that
page
gets you
for
closer
special
the minute that goes away.
it's the payments. If you look at the budget on special assessments, it's Prospect, Chippewa Beach, Wabi, does that add up?
Is that
Here's,
this page? There's a separate page for those.
Yes, the special assessment,
So,
separate budget.
so 101-595-702, airport salaries and wages, $2,000. I don't think we've ever paid wages recently, have we?
Well, I think, is that for something when they hire somebody out to do the,
No, this is salary and wages with social security. And
do they contribute in for?
Yes,
They contribute in the.
They do my
So
guys.
you'll see that under
Yeah.
cemetery as well, Bob, because we try to track,
Hold on for a second. I would ask if you please, the mumbling is, I know you're, have small little conversations. but
Okay,
it
I
is-
understand what you're saying, so.
Hold on, Robert,
Basically,
Robert, just a moment. It is disconcerting up here. I appreciate if you could just hold your conversations. Go ahead, Bob, I'm sorry.
So I think what I hear you saying is basically this is a reimbursement to
I
parks.
think that's what it is.
it's part of the park,
Yeah.
yes. Yep,
Yeah,
because
we
we
might
break
wanna
out.
change that wording, so.
Well, it's part of the audit and the
Oh,
the
okay,
standard
okay,
codes that Michigan
okay,
uses
got it,
in
got it.
my understanding.
Okay, repairs, maintenance, landing and building goes up $5,000. That's
You are aware of the number?
595,930. I mean, we've been out to the airport, Janet and I, and we know what they need, but $6,250 is not gonna fix their,
Crack ceiling. It's crack ceiling.
what?
That's what you're talking about, that's 6,250?
Yeah, what's
Why
that?
it went up, the crack ceiling. They're crack sealing the runways,
Oh, is that what that is?
yes.
But they
Yeah,
just
that was
did
part
that.
of Andy's request in his
Right.
letter to us.
But they just did that.
yeah.
It's done.
Maybe they did it and they did it out of their pockets, I'm not sure how they did it, but that was his request or maybe they're waiting on a bill or whatever, but that was his request, why that went up, I called and asked him about that.
Okay.
It's crack ceiling.
Well, yeah, I mean, the crack seal looks new, right, Janet?
Yeah, it's brand new.
It happens,
Yeah.
I know they do it a lot, that they have to for airplane safety.
And oh, by the way, they got a real problem out there with the lines, the painted lines. They are so badly faint.
They're faded and
I don't
worn
know
out.
what they're gonna do. Because they definitely need a seal coat. And I think Mikey told me it was so expensive they have to get it printed.
Yeah, gotta do something out
I
there.
just FYI. Then we got, planning commission per diem. Is that normal?
Yeah, I've had a problem with that, but,
Okay.
yeah, but that's, they're the only, because it's in their bylaws, I think it's the only commission or committee that we have that does get a per diem.
Yeah, so, going to 101-751-719, hospitalization for recreation. Goes from 6,000 to 14,000. What's that all about?
Is that the number of employees that we have?
Isn't it, cause 6,000 is only half a year for Doug, did Jim not have?
How many
He had
folks?
Medicare.
Then there would be two on there.
Yeah,
So 14,000 and for 2 people for hospitalization? You're getting a deal.
Should be myself and
Okay,
And
that's,
Scott,
when Scott, when
Scott.
he's.
I got it, I got it, but when you
Yeah.
see this kind of
I don't think,
disparity,
yeah, but I
you
don't
gotta
think that's
ask.
high enough then if it's 2 people. but-
Okay, supplies go from, next line under, goes from 10 to 15, a 33% increase. What's that about?
On the supplies, didn't we just carry the number that was already there? We spent 10
Yeah,
this
that's the
year, but
problem.
there was 15 budgeted.
Yeah, we
So
just
we just
inflated.
carried the budget from last year over to this year.
And then 101, 751, 860, Recreation Department Transportation goes from $3,684 to 12 grand. That's 300% increase.
That fuel cost was?
That was fuel costs and, what else did she have in there? Do you remember?
Fuel's gone up 300%? That dog don't hunt either.
Is that some mileage in there too? That's not a lot, but
No, there's,
no mileage in there?
no one gets mileage.
Yeah, 101, 751, 930, repairs, maintenance, land and building. Oh, I'm sorry, delay that. 751, 931, repairs and maintenance parks. It's up 60%. What's that about?
Your park system is extremely old and needs a ton.
Speak up, please.
The park system is old and it needs a lot of repairs. We have failing stairways going to places, we have paint falling off the buildings.
Okay, so you got a plan for all that?
Yes,
Okay.
and more,
Okay.
as much as we can do.
Okay, so 751, 974. Through the end of the year, we spent $56,038.
That's the grant, Bob. The grant totals 80,000.
Yeah, but this
So-
is what we spent. So is that what we probably paid for the docks already or something?
Yes.
Okay. That's what I thought. I wanted to make sure. So what's the 30,000 projection for? Is that to finish it?
To finish it up, and we haven't gotten any of the grant money yet.
Yeah, we won't get it till it's
So
over.
you can't show
Yeah,
it
so-
until you
Okay.
get it.
Yeah,
So
Understood.
so
we have
we'll
to show
actually
it
be
out of our
ahead on
budget.
that.
Okay. And then last year, right under that, you did equipment. I think we discussed this before, Doug, $44,000, but only 20,000 this
Yeah,
year.
we
Is that a
dropped it.
little low?
A lot of that was involved with the ice rink, the way that it had to be entered into the budget. is
Okay, but my question for you is 20 grand enough?
No, okay, so the equipment, that's your mower, and before, what he's talking about when he
Right.
said you had 44,000 in there
Right.
before, it
A lot of
included the cost of a new
Okay.
truck. We took the truck off this year
Okay.
Yes.
and said replace just the mower, and there's a little extra in there for
Okay.
other.
Okay.
Does that
Thank
take
you very
everybody
much
through?
for your indulgence.
Any more questions about the general? Or the colonel? Go to fire protection.
Fire, here's fire.
You guys are gonna like that. Close a minute.
Yep.
Balances.
That's their contract, right?
Yep.
180,638, yep.
What a deal.
Very good. Okay, any questions about that?
No, not at all.
Okay, streetlights?
Do we have, this is all electric, right, or is it streetlights only?
This is streetlights only, I believe.
So wouldn't, if we provide electric for the fountain, wouldn't it be under this budget? I would assume.
Yeah. I think there is room in that budget, and not much.
Okay. You think I think it might be $1,000 for a meter, or they could calculate the amperage of the motor and just tack on the cost. So it shouldn't be that much, right?
Is that meter on the post, or is it on a separate?
Well, no,
Expansion.
they're paying for it out of their own electric. If we separate it out, we either have to have a meter, or we have to ask Consumers Energy or whoever it
Okay, I
is.
thought there was a separate meter already there.
Oh, maybe so. Well, if there is, we should be taking that over.
I agree.
I wish you could turn the street light off in my street,
Yeah.
so we can see the stars at night.
Let's look at Township Police Department.
Well, I think think we put the chief through enough pain when we had the budget workshop, and he did a great job. That's just me saying. Just for folks that are here, we did discuss our very real concerns about our large deficit in pensions. And the chief got with MERS and came up with the plan. I don't want to speak for you, but you can interject anytime you want. And instead of kicking the can down the road, we've come up with a plan to try and amortize this over 10 years. So that's why we're gonna have to have an increase in budget, so this board doesn't kick the can down the road for our kids to pay the bill. And we want our officers to get their retirement. One concern that we had was, even though we're trying to amortize it over 10 years, because we have four officers that may be retiring in the next 10 years,
Correct.
that may be a little light. And we did discuss, didn't take any action, that, maybe we might even want to plus up that payment we make, in a very small way, because I think we're light on it. MERS made that, right?
Yes.
So they don't know that 4 people are gonna retire, right?
Correct. So, like I said, these are projections.
Uh-huh.
We're currently, $1,003,000 projected behind on our retirement.
And last year it was 9 something.
Yep, 980.
We're done with that, right?
Correct. So, because in the next 10 years, I am gonna have 4 officers retiring, now is not the time to kick that can down the road any further. Because if we continue to do so, our millage rate is going to be, half of it's gonna be just going towards retirement.
Yeah, we can't have that.
And, then after that, we're gonna have to either find other ways to cut, which the only thing is gonna be, it's gonna have to be cutting, the size of our department.
That's services.
So, MERS has got us on a 10-year plan. This year, it's $207,000 for retirement.
Mhm.
And they are saying that they're projecting us to be 100% funded within 10 years.
And we did talk to Tom Shannon about if we had the money at some point late in the fiscal year, we might be able to add a little bit to that, just to try and get it down a bit.
Yeah, because it wasn't their fault that we're behind.
Exactly.
I have a question about the millage for the police department. Do they have a separate account like the library does for theirs, or does it go into like our general fund and then we dole it out?
Everything goes into one IMA. These are your separate accounts.
Right. Would it be wise to have since they have their own millage, to put that separate than ours? And
We, that's how we used to be. Everything used to be separate, and, we learned through working with BSNA and MTA and several other people that we were doing it wrong all those years. Putting it together is the way to do it. This is how you separate it, with those GL numbers, not in the bank account. It doesn't matter in a bank,
right.
in the bank account. It's all
So-
accounted for this way.
So does the chief get financial reports every quarter to make sure that he knows where he's at as far as his budget is concerned?
Yes, I get those for the clerk. Bob had mentioned at the last meeting that he would actually like me to do a financial report, quarterly report to the board.
Yeah. Would it be helpful to have monthly reports from us to you, so you know how you're tracking, or is quarterly sufficient?
Quarterly would be sufficient.
Okay.
And I usually get that right directly from the clerk, and just make sure that we're not spending in one line item. And if we are, then we find other line items to transfer that money to.
Do you have any suggestions on how to make it easier for you or better for the department?
We don't want a lot of detail, chief. We just want to know if you're on the glide path.
Yes, I am.
Yeah, and if
No,
there's
I mean, when you make these reports, we don't
Yeah.
need,
You don't
a
need step by
2-page
step.
detail.
Gotcha.
Yeah, we just know
I'll give you bullet points.
Yeah, just give us warm and fuzzy, or, oh no.
Do you have any suggestions to make your life easier when it comes to this budgeting though?
One thing that would make my life why does our budget year start in July and not January like everybody else's? Because,
Yeah, calendar year versus the fiscal
well,
year.
for example, for me, for healthcare, I have to guess, because they don't know until January. And same with, MERS. MERS has actually been really helping me out with trying to get those projections to me, because they know my budget years, ends in July. But, a lot of what we do, or what I do for my budget, is just a guess, because they don't have the projections, they're not gonna have it until January. And I've never understood why the township's budget year doesn't go from December 31st to January 1.
I don't know that
Does,
either.
does any,
Which states, October 1st?
I was gonna say, the county, I think,
State
is the
fed.
one that goes on the
It's
calendar
pretty
year.
universal for municipalities to have a system year-end along with school districts.
and it makes it really difficult for me, because tomorrow's my end of my budget year, but I have a fund balance of $503,000 right now, and then that's what I use until fall, because we only get our taxes for the police department once a year.
I don't know how to address that.
It's, yeah, it tells, I
Yeah, I
don't know if
don't-
it
we'd
has
have
to do
to
with
look into
general
it.
law township, but like Dan
Yeah.
said, it's pretty standard.
I think, I'm trying to think,
I don't know anybody
fiscal
who's on
year
a calendar.
is,
A lot of people, some people are April, it's either April or July.
I thought it was April.
Yeah, I don't know any township that's on a calendar year.
Huh,
So
that's odd.
it dates back, I'm sure.
Of course, it's gonna make it more difficult for everybody to understand.
Any more questions about the police budget? Okay, special assessments, that's,
Could you explain that to me? Bobby, could you explain that to us?
What you need to know?
special assessments?
What you're seeing budgeting in is our payments, the payments that we'll collect that go on the winter tax bill, and then the bond payments out.
So what's with the deficit?
It's actually not a deficit. There's a balance in the account is $485,000.
Because we had a lot.
Okay, so it's not really a,
Yeah.
It's not
It's
deficit
fairly-
spending.
Yep, we had a lot of people that pay early,
yeah, okay.
paid
So we
off.
don't have a deficit?
We don't have a
Yeah.
deficit, nope, we're just
Okay.
holding
Fine.
Wow,
quite a bit.
that's
right now.
refreshing.
Yep, so
Now,
the collection.
can I ask you this? If you got all this money, can you pay it early?
We tried that once.
Doesn't work.
It doesn't work. That did cause a deficit because of the way that the loans are written.
Yes, we get our quarter of
Yeah.
1%
I was
interest,
gonna say, so we
and it
just
just
hold
sits there.
that
And
interest.
we keep paying 2.75%. What a
Yeah,
racket.
yep, they won't take our
What a
money.
racket.
Okay, any questions about special assessments? Sewer.
Yeah, I got a question about that.
Sure.
But I think I know the answer. The deficit is being paid by Burt Lake State Park, right?
Yes.
That money,
Yep.
correct,
And-
that money.
Is the entire board aware that we finally got the USDA off of the Burt Lake State Park horse? Mr. Mann just came to the rescue.
You say USDA, it was just one person at the
Yeah.
USDA.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, but apparently they don't have any control over that individual.
Yeah.
So Steve Mann put him in his place, and for those of you that don't know it, Burt Lake State Park is out of the picture. And Mr. Mann basically said it may even be illegal to take their money, that's earmarked money, and pay down a USDA loan.
That's how we understood it when we earmarked the
Well,
money.
When we did that initially, that was the assurance that we had, because we knew that we
Yeah,
were
I
gonna
know,
have to
but
float
you know that
O&M.
the guy just kept on it and on it and on it, and God bless Steve Mann for putting him in his place.
Yeah, with that,
And
Is-
Chris Maxwell for coming up
Yeah.
on the net and saying, yeah.
for the general public, what that was is the money that we collected from Burt Lake State Park, the USDA loan rep wanted to consider that as cash on hand. So they wanted to take that out of any grant money that they might give us. We had almost 300 grand at the time.
His exact words were, that's the township's contribution to the residential sewer system. I'm like,
Okay, they wanted us to seize that money up, but persistence always defeats resistance. Any more questions about the sewer? Oh, jeez. That's all right. Jeez, oh, please. Let me go get the DDA budget.
I was gonna say, I'm
I'm
looking at
sorry,
this and I'm
boy,
like, this
DDA.
isn't the DDA.
Not
I saw that.
We're missing one.
Thought we were good.
We're missing one.
While he's gone, can I make another comment? In this budget, Parks is getting $289,500. That's 38.71% of the budget. We need to start looking at a revenue stream. We can't have 40% going to Parks. We got
We actually talked about that.
priorities.
Doug
and-
floated
I
I
know
think
we, I
Doug's
know
gonna
we,
be the man on that.
I know we talked about it,
Doug
but
is gonna, he's on that already.
Yeah,
We
we're looking
we
at a
talked
bunch
about
of
that,
different.
we're looking at there's a few options that we may have.
And we have, Bob, I don't know if you remember meetings, that's been on the table, I've attended Parks meetings, and that's been a discussion for a long time, and everyone's always kind of shied away and been afraid of it. But I think Doug is making some very positive steps with the Parks Commission members to walk them in that direction.
I mean, okay, Parks are our gym, but, you know, we need some revenue, the way I see it. But I certainly wouldn't want property owners or township residents paying a user.
That's not, township residents is not in the,
I'm
any of
sorry?
the things we're talking about wouldn't be a payment for township residents. We are looking at ways of maybe getting non-township residents to have to pay some of the way.
I liked your idea on the on the ice rink. by the way.
My apologies to the board for overlooking this.
I think we've reviewed this once before, right?
Yes, we have. But
No changes
no
that I see.
changes.
Such a wonderful job on the streetscape. And thank you to the Women's Club for the wonderful flowers. So awesome. What a beautiful straight highway.
Our revenue jumped quite a bit.
Very nice.
Any questions about the,
And Doug made the fish look great.
just come along? Oh, for the, well, we'll get to the DDA report, I'll bring something up too. I guess I can say right now, for the general public, the sign, I got a comment from individuals that you make just such a great job with the sturgeon at the corner, you put those crappy little signs down there. Well, they're only gonna be there temporarily, we have smaller ones coming, and Doug's gonna install them, but we just had to put something up because people are already climbing on it. So if they fell off and broke something, there's a sign there that says, "Do not climb on the sculpture." So I apologize for the aesthetics, but they'll be changing. Unless you prefer to keep those there, I
Yeah.
Any more questions about the DDA budget? Okay. Where did he skip? He did skip it. Okay, public hearing, is there a motion to close the budget public hearing?
I'll make that motion.
Bobby makes that motion, and there's a second to close it? Don second, all in favor? Aye, opposed? Okay, this is the General Appropriations Act. Read through this before, the resolution would be known as the Tuscarora Township General Appropriations Act. Can you all hear me well enough? Chief Administrator Officer is the supervisor, the fiscal officer is the clerk. Pursuant to the budget, the public acts we've had, that has been published. The millage levy will be, the general operating, is .9971. Scott, I will get you a copy of this. Okay, .9971 mils. The authorized millages for fire protection is .1170. I'm sorry, street lighting is .1170. Fire protection is .7320, and police is .4.73. The general fund is, the estimated revenues is $747,890. Special assessment is $141,492. Police is $1,257,157. Sewer debt, O&M, now RRI fund to replace and repair, $274,630. Street lights is $28,350. Fire protection is $180,638. These are the budget numbers that are on the next page. Are you following along? Or? Okay, all right. Okay, adoption of general fund is $844. These are the estimated expenditures, $844,937. Special assessment for roads, $249,000. Police fund, $1,169,095. Sewer debt is $310,800. Street lights is $32,000. Fire protection is $180,638. The appropriations are deemed maximum authorizations to incur expenditures. No obligation shall be incurred against, and no payment shall be made from any appropriation account unless there is sufficient unencumbered balance in the appropriation and sufficient funds are or will be available to meet the obligation. Fiscal officer shall provide the board the review at the board meeting immediately following the end of each fiscal quarter, and at the final board meeting of the fiscal year, a report of fiscal year-to-date revenues and expenditures compared to the budgeted amounts in the various funds in the township. Whenever it appears to the chief administrative officer or the board that the actual and probable revenues in any fund will be less than estimated revenues, which appropriations from what such funds were based, and when it appears that expenditures will exceed an appropriation, the fiscal officer shall present to the board recommendations to prevent expenditures from exceeding available revenues or appropriations for the fiscal year. Such recommendations shall include proposals for reducing appropriation, increasing revenues, or both. Any violation, any obligation incurred, or payment authorized in violation of this resolution shall be void and subject any responsible official or employee to disciplinary action as outlined in Public Act 621. Is there a motion to adopt General Appropriations Act resolution? Is there a motion?
So what exactly is this for? I mean, are we authorizing the budget
Budget.
itself?
Well, this is the Appropriations Act, the millage rates.
The millage rates?
Okay.
Yeah.
I'll make that
I
motion.
wanted to make sure.
Bobby makes the motion. Is there support?
I'll support.
John supports. All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Okay. Oh, I'm sorry, it's a motion made, it's a roll call.
Roll call, that's.
Roll call, I'm sorry, I missed that. Roll call?
Bob?
No.
Yes. Mike?
Yes.
Bobby?
Yes.
Janet?
No.
Motion is passed. We'll do that next time. Okay, adopt the budgets, review them.
One by one or turn?
No, we did all
All
at
at
once,
once.
yeah. Adopt the budget, is there a motion to adopt the budgets?
I'll make the motion to
Bobby
adopt the
makes the
budgets.
motions, is there support?
Second.
All in favor, aye,
Aye.
opposed?
Opposed?
Opposed.
Okay, budgets are adopted. Treasurer's report and bills, Bobby.
Where's my stuff? Shoot, I have a bunch there. Alright, general accounts, $2,804,189.59. Tax accounts, $10,921.04, both without interest and unbalanced since it's not the end of the month yet.
We need a motion to pay the bills.
Yes.
Motion to pay the bills?
I have questions.
Okay, go ahead.
I don't think we have the bills. Do we?
Did we have any bills? Those payables?
I think
Got a lot of bills.
run date, this is what we'll sign tomorrow.
Okay, so can I ask a question?
Yep, absolutely.
Who's Brandon Blumke?
Sergeant of the police force,
Okay, what's the 250 for?
chief puts 254 on that.
Uniform allowance.
Uniform, you'll see it for every officer.
Okay, Chris, okay, got it. Janet, okay. North Star Stone, what'd they do?
That comes through parks, isn't it? That's the,
Yeah.
we just got that bill today, I believe, that, we had a donation for the stone. We have the money covered from the donations for the
Wow.
sculpture.
Oh, wonderful.
That money's been deposited previously. I believe it was a $3,000 donation.
Precision cartridge,
Ammunition,
okay.
that I've been waiting for 9 months.
Really? I can lend you some of mine.
Probably
USA
everybody
Blue
in here's
Book.
got some they can chip in.
You take donations, it can be in kind, right?
Yeah, I'll take ammunition donations.
I got a lot of 9 mil. What's USA Blue Book, if I could ask?
That's sewer. That's our supplies for the sewer.
Okay. That's it, I'm good, thank you.
Okay. Any more questions about the bills? Make a motion to pay the bills? Bob?
I
makes a motion.
second.
Jan seconds, all in favor?
Aye.
Okay, police report, chief?
So earlier this month, one of my officers received a thank you letter from a woman in Florida. Her elderly father, who is also from Florida, has dementia, was reported missing. My department located him on I-75. The man was taken to a hotel room where his daughter was able to get a flight and fly up here and then take him back home. One thing I wanted to just kind of warn the public about right now, there's a lot of phone scams going on where individuals are calling pretending to be federal agents, stating that you had a vehicle located on the southern border that was full of drugs. The federal government does not operate that way. If there's an issue, they will send an agent to your door. You do not pay any bonds with gift cards. Go all for it. One thing I've done just this month, I have assigned one of my officers to do part-time ordinance enforcement. For the summer, he's gonna spend half of his shift doing blight, tall grass complaints, and any other ordinance violation that may occur. We've had a lot of calls recently, especially primarily here in the back streets, of animals that are acting weird. People are going out, they're not running away from them. I've had a fox, a raccoon, and a porcupine now. The animals have distemper. Don't touch them. Please either call my department or call the ACO so we can dispose of that animal properly. If people just shoot them and leave them there, then that's just gonna continue the spread of the distemper. So that's one thing we've been dealing with probably the last month and a half. And then last Sunday morning, we had a routine traffic stop that led to a felon in possession of a loaded handgun. The man was charged with several felonies and he was lodged at the Sheboygan County Jail. That's all I got.
Absolutely.
Hey, when you do a tall grass, when you post the notice, and then, they gotta cut it in 10 days,
Correct.
then what's the leeway time? How many days do you normally,
Um,
after the 10 days are up?
Well, if the people are here, we can actually hand the notice to them directly. It starts right then, but typically it's when they receive it by mail is when their 10 day starts.
Okay, and then do you wait a certain period of time after that?
We usually show up on the 10th day. We'll give them a call. Sometimes we'll give them a little bit more leeway. We have that one person who actually had contracted with a lawn maintenance company, and they just haven't gotten to it yet because the weather's been so wet.
I think that's the
So
one
in
me and my
that
grandson-
situation, we're gonna give them a couple more days.
Yeah, okay. And the blight ordinance, we're just waiting on Rosemary?
That's one question. Did anybody reach out to Rosemary?
About the blight?
Yeah.
I did, I
because
can't remember what, I'm waiting to hear back from her.
She was supposed to send us a
Clean
clean copy,
yeah.
and then.
So we
it
can
needs
put
to
it in
be
the
published.
resorter, right?
Right.
So, still waiting on that.
Well, thank you, chief.
Thank you.
I would like to usually save this for board comment, but I had to, over the last several weeks, been working close with Chief Temple, and we have just a crack A1 police force here. I'm just really proud of the things they do in the community, and most things that they do, the little things people don't know about. And just very, very proud of our police department. I think they're a tremendous asset to this community. So that would have been my board comment, but I wanted to get it in before anybody else did. So.
Thank you very much.
Okay, reports, DDA. Chris, you wanna give that a shot or want me to do it?
Go for it, Mike.
Okay. I wanna commend Chris as one of the members of DDA, and any of the members before I miss. We have, we're tying up, we'll have our final inspection of the streetscape project. We do have a little bit of money that we can do some extra things, a little more concrete, red stamp concrete. We're gonna try and provide a little more lighting. We are going to try and, I met with Charter I think it was last week, and they're gonna, hopefully, we're gonna be able to move all of the Charter lines to the rears of the east side buildings. Be able to continue taking down posts, if that, we're allowed to do that. The fish has been an attraction. I don't think I went by there, every day I go by there, at least once, there's somebody there getting their picture taken with the sturgeon. It's been so far a tremendous addition to our community, the entryway. And I can't say how proud I am of the DDA for sticking this out, the members that have been around, and it's come out very, very nice. That's the DDA report. Meetings are third Monday of the month at 7 p.m. right here in Township Hall if you're ever inclined to stop in. Parks Commission. Doug? Got any report?
Oh, we've got a ton of baseball going on right now. We just had a juniors travel league softball tournament last weekend with teams from Detroit, Flint, all over downstate. This weekend, for this week, we have girls Little League softball all-stars tournament here, followed up by boys junior baseball tournament next week, and then the following week will be the boys junior sectional. We've got, I have probate court bringing in a work crew to start putting in 1 day a week at the park, starting next week. And we've got the DNR coming in to do the split rail along the trailhead next week as well. So, there's gonna be a whole bunch going on next week.
Yeah. As you can tell, the parks are a destination for a lot of people, not just in the 2 or 3 townships or the counties. It's people around the state know that Cooperation Park has some of the finest baseball fields. So we've talked several times over several years about how do we develop a sustainable revenue stream. So if you have any ideas, please get a hold of me. This has been going on for a couple of years because this is all supported by tax money, and we have to figure out, and we can go through the park at any given time, and maybe 10% of the users are Tuscarora Township.
Right, and it's not just Co-op Park.
It's
We have
DeVoe
a lot of
Beach, it is, yeah,
We
it's
have
Green Docks.
Green Docks, DeVoe Beach, yeah.
You did a great job on the bathrooms down there, by the way. All the complaints stopped. Wonderful job. And a good plan going forward. Thank you very much for that. Because, you know, it only takes one bad experience for them not to come back. You did great. And since Mike mentioned revenue stream, you know, I know you need more help. You know, I love the parks. I know you need more employees, and that's the way to get it done.
Okay, Planning Commission, Dawn, you got anything to report?
No,
Nothing to report. Thank you. Library, David Hill, he's gonna have to address the board. Oh, I'm sorry, first, Helen's gonna give the library.
Yeah, it's gonna be real quick. The summer is busy. The summer reading program, we have at least 100 participants, but there's always room for more, so please come in. Lots going on. We are tweaking our hours. We're increasing them, so now it'll be Tuesdays and Thursdays. We're open from 10 to 7, and Saturdays we're adding on an hour, so it'll be 10 to 2, a little bit more to accommodate everyone. And I think people have known we were looking for a director, and the board, they decided we are, Kelsey Rakowski has been hired. She interned at the library. She's been the assistant, and as of December, she will have earned her master's in library and information science degree from Wayne State. So she'll be the new director. She begins her duties September and will be fully there January 1. So we're excited about her. and David.
David?
Okay. You asked to speak with the library board about a payment for lighting improvements, and I would like to respond to that. And I have copies of my remarks that I will make from the microphone. And I'd like you to meet Jim Engelwitz, who's a elected board member on our library board, and he has some experience in lighting with professional representatives of that industry and his family, and he's helped me a great deal with this situation. First of all, I myself and my predecessor, Patty Brown, neither of us agreed to share 1/3 of the bid that was received on February 20th, more than a year ago. In fact, on the 25th of that month, February 20, I wrote a note to the library director at the time, Rudy Wright, stating, among other things, that the proposal may be more costly than necessary and the savings may be overly optimistic. And I also stated it is this library trustee's opinion that this project should receive additional study of alternatives before proceeding. Our history is that we had a bid from White Pines Electric on 2/14/20 for $25,000. That was the entire building for all new lighting. And a similar date from Select Electric for a similar amount of money, $25,265 from Select Electric again for the entire building. I had received no response from my memo of February 20th, and so back in May of this year, after some consultation, Jim and I entertained Tanner Electric, who's a new electric contractor in the town of Indian River with a good reputation, and his bid, now this is a different bid, but it's just for the library, and it was the same way, all new, that the previous bids were, versus a more affordable bid according to this expert. And those two bids were for $12,394 and $3,169, 1/4 of the cost in the library. Now, the Tanner bid was for all new versus retrofit tubes. It was for the library only, and they warned us in their bid that the rebate from Consumers Power to change from fluorescent to LED would go from $5.50 per tube to $4 per tube after July 1st. So we recognize that, and Consumers Power will not tell us or give us any warning about what the retrofit, what the rebate will really be, but we were going from the bid we had, and we realized there was some time urgency to go forward. So on the 15th of June, the library board moved to go ahead with the retrofit now, and that was to capture the more beneficial rebates. The following week, on 6/21, Mr. Ridley and I met and agreed per Mike that the township was not going to act now. Many things were going on, the pandemic not the least of which. So the library could go ahead with the library lighting only, and on that same morning, I ordered the material from the electric contractor. And the building of maintenance agreement that I have, the last one that was signed by Chief's predecessor, by Mike, and by my predecessor on 2013, that agreement stated that it is understood that the named entities are responsible for their own repairs, renovations, maintenance, and furnishings. On that basis, and on the basis of the Mike Ridley meeting, we would like to be paid by check from the library's funds, $1,500, so that I can pay Tanner Electric for the material that we ordered back on 6/21. I further would go on record as saying that, and Mike and I agreed that this room here should be part of the common space. It was not listed so, perhaps by accident, in the document that we have entitled Maintenance Agreement. But it is fair that we consider this room to be a common room, as all three of the entities using this building use this room. So with that agreement and the rebidding of the job, including itemized charges so that we might decide which expenditures were going to have good paybacks and which were not. For example, the storage area, which is switched, is probably only used an hour or two per week, yet it won't have a good payback to replace that with LEDs. So, assuming certain things like alternative technologies and contractors, and you folks are welcome to look at our library if we get the permission to go ahead and pay with our money for the equipment. But we agreed to pay 1/3 of that expenses for the common areas, as agreed by the majority of the three entities. So if we're outvoted in selecting the more affordable solution, then we'll still pay 1/3. So I would respectfully request that we get the check for our $1,500 that's our money and can pay our bills and can go ahead with the renovation that we've selected.
Thank you, Dick.
I would like to have a motion from this.
We need a discussion first.
I ask a question, Dave? That you talked about a memo from February.
Yes,
Did the library board give a memo to the township or the police?
I didn't know if Mr. Wright shared that with his colleagues, and apparently he didn't. So, and it's my fault for not taking action about that, and we had a great deal of difficulty with Mr. Wright and the pandemic and a lot of things to do. But I did feel as though one solution for the entire building was not the right thing to do. And in looking at this agreement, we did have the ability to do the renovations in our own area. And now that agreement, which was signed in 2013, was only good for 3 years. So currently, it's not enforced, but it was the only material that I had. And I think Mike agreed, and I think Chief Temple will also agree, that it's a good idea to update that agreement and re-sign it. But that's for the future. What I'm here tonight is, at your request, to ask for the payment, the check to be written.
Can I ask one more question? Do you guys have a contract with Tanner Electric?
We have a verbal contract. We have ordered the material, and we have told them that they have the job. I would have liked to have done a better job on the bidding process and get some competitive bids for exactly the same thing. But if you look at our history, our competitive bids show that we selected the money-saving approach, and I hope that we are able to do better in the future. But we did have the right to go ahead, and in the future, I promise you that we will do a better job on our bidding, but we felt quite a bit of time pressure with the savings to be offered by getting the rebates in effect before July 1st. Yes?
Dawn, go ahead.
So when I look at these bids, I don't know, I'm new, so I don't know anything about these. So we have White Pines at 25,000, we have,
It's okay.
we have, Select Electric at 25,000 and, Tanner Electric was at 12. Is that for the whole building or?
No, they're different quantities, as I have explained, and maybe not well enough, but the two top bids are for the entire building.
Okay,
The third and fourth bids are for the library only,
okay.
because that's what we had the authority to do, and I think the same savings will be possible, and it's a matter of, rather than replacing the entire fixture, it's a matter of retrofitting the fluorescent bulbs with LED bulbs and making the professionally installed ballast bypass to make them direct wired. So they're not the same thing, but if I take 1/3 of the 25,000, that's about 8,000, and we are proposing to get the same amount of work done for 3,000. Now, there is some common area that's not added into this, but the savings that we have, $5,000, should more than pay for that.
Bob, did you have any questions? Bob, any more questions? Okay, is there a motion to pay that bill? Because that's where we held it up, was the last meeting.
Yeah, and I think, I mean, my concern, I still have the same concerns, but you guys acted, I think, like you said, within your maintenance agreement and discussions with Mike, so I don't think that it would be fair for us to hold up your bill at all.
Yeah, I agree with Bobby, for once.
Yeah, you
Oh.
did.
We're very friendly, even though we may disagree.
Okay.
Yeah,
Is there a motion?
I think, I'll second the motion, or?
No.
Read-
Somebody's gotta
I'll
make
make-
one. Make the motion.
I'll make the motion that we pay.
Second? Is there-
Okay.
Don seconds it. All in favor? Aye. Thank you, David.
Got your money.
Okay, sewer report, Bob?
In the interest of time, the amended report to the board is online under sewer expansion project, but just to hit the highlights, as I said earlier, our supervisor hit the send button on a USDA application yesterday for $6.3 million. And the stuff that we talked about today at the public hearing, we hope to get that application in the next 30 to 60 days. But what's significant is last night, we learned that the Interior, Environment, and Related Agencies Subcommittee of the House Appropriations Committee announced a funding bill that included our sewer project requests that have been sponsored by Congressman Bergman. Out of Congressman Bergman's 10 earmarked requests, we were the only ones that made the cut. This is a really big deal. As I've told you all before, this was a long shot from the word get-go, and with some help from Anna Schwab and the rest of the community, it's just unbelievable to me that we've gotten this far. But we still have a long way to go. The next step is the subcommittee, full vote, and we'll see how that goes. But conversely, we've told our senators about this success, and we've definitely got their attention, and that's really gonna help us. So, as soon as I hear back on Senator Peters and Stabenhouse selection of their projects, I'll let you know. And one other thing, remember we have a community meeting of sorts. We call it the sewer subcommittee meeting, but it's in fact an informational meeting, right? Saturday morning at 10:30, and we expect a full house. Come with all your questions. We'll stay here as long as necessary to answer your questions. Thank you, sir.
It's in an effort to make sure that we're trying to be as transparent as possible, and that's why we're, just bring your questions, and if we don't have an answer, we'll see if we can find one for you.
Oh, we'll get them.
Okay, thank you, Bob.
Yes.
Okay, hiring policy, Janet?
Well, unbeknownst to me, we never had a hiring policy. So, I made a bare bones policy, one pager here. We can always amend it, change it, whatever we want to do, add to it, take away from it anytime we want. But at least it puts some ground rules down for hiring, personnel in every department except the police department, because they have their own hiring policy there. But if they're gonna be paid, hourly, salary, anything except elected officials, of course, will go through this. It's pretty bare bones. I made the first draft, that went to Rosemary, the attorney. She made some suggestions. According to those suggestions, I've edited to fit her suggestions, and so this is what we've come up with. So, I guess I'm looking for a motion to agree to accept the hiring policy.
Can I, a couple questions?
Yep.
Selecting official, if it's the park, it's Doug? Is that what I'm
Board
asking?
has to vote.
Well, the selecting official will be designated by the township board.
Well, that's what I mean, if it's something,
So,
if
we
it's-
could designate
I'm using
Doug.
that as an example.
Yes, we could designate Doug to do the hiring for the Parks Department, no problem. And he would be the ideal person because he knows the ins and outs of what the requirements would be for that particular employee.
Plus, he has supervisory responsibilities, so
Yeah,
that's a no-brainer.
right, exactly. So that, it's just a general term for, like, we can
Right.
delegate that, is what we're trying to say.
Where did you get this from, Janet, just curious?
It's a compilation, some of it came from an MTA, and then I did some research on some other hiring policies from other townships and counties, and I kinda compiled them together to make it fit our township needs, it's mostly from the MTA though.
Okay, cause I went to the MTA and found a lot of stuff, no hiring policy, so I checked with some other townships our size and larger. And there's a lot of stuff MTA gives about, employee manuals and things like that, but basically MTA's stance is that a general law township, it is basically the supervisor or the supervisor clerk and treasurer that are the hiring officials in that township, and they couldn't offer me any hiring policy guidance or templates or anything, so I thought, I didn't know where this came
Well,
from.
I did find something on the MTA, and it was
I
months
saw
ago,
that.
so,
I saw it.
yeah, you saw it, didn't you? So, and the selecting official thing, I mean, if you feel uncomfortable with that, we can take that out, but it was just a general term to make sure that we could delegate that
Actually,
authority to someone
Rosemary
else.
put that in.
Yeah.
Remember?
Yeah, that's right. But, I mean, we need a hiring policy, cause right now we're just shooting at the hip, and I think it would be
Why do
appropriate
we
to
need
have.
one when all these other townships don't have one in the area? I
Well,
mean, we couldn't find, I couldn't find anybody that I talked to that had one, and I
Do
I
they
guess
have
I'm
employees?
just being, and I hate to be nitpicky, cause I don't think it really matters, but this came about because you were unhappy with something that happened in a miscommunication situation. Township hires very few people, so to bog it down with paperwork and policy, when Doug hires his people, we talk about it in a township meeting and decide who's gonna, who's best fits to hire somebody, that why we need a policy when, again, I can't find anybody else who has one. It just worries me that it's unnecessary, and we spent attorney money to review it before the board even talked about if we wanted one, which I think
Well, the board gave us permission to send it to Rosemary, you did,
The board did?
yes.
I recall that, yeah.
I'd like to see those minutes, because we tabled it twice. I don't
We
think there
talked
was
about,
ever.
we talked about it, and we said, I specifically remember, I think it was Mike, saying that I think this should be reviewed by the lawyer
Yeah.
before we move forward. Am I right, Bob? Something
Yes.
to that effect?
Yeah,
What did the board say? Because I think, and I guess maybe this is my core problem and I'm picking on the hiring policy because of it, but the board's kind of gotten in a situation where somebody comes up with an idea and it goes to an attorney. There's not any talk at this table. We paid, and I looked it up, we paid $75, which isn't a giant sum of money, but I don't think it was necessary. We didn't talk about where this copy came from, what MTA does, what other townships do, and we're getting away from that practice as a township to where we just call an attorney. The sign thing, or the flag. I don't like the flag, but we paid an attorney for a 10-page opinion. And I just think we're kind of going in this way of creating a lot of things and talking to a lot of attorneys as opposed to handling things first here. And again, I think the hiring policy, as far as, I hadn't seen it, it was on an agenda when we were still, I
COVID,
think,
yeah.
in COVID. And it got tabled because nobody had seen it because it didn't go in a packet. And then it got tabled because we saw it last minute, but there wasn't ever a discussion about why we needed it or if we needed it. It was an idea, and it might not be a bad idea. But when I then went and did some research, it didn't sound like a necessary thing. We've gotten over the fact that, the clerk at the time didn't put the ad in the paper like we thought happened, as we discussed and voted on at a meeting. And so I don't see a need for it. And I don't, like I said, I may be being nitpicky and picking on this because of other things, but I don't see a need for it. And that's just my opinion.
Janet, I appreciate your opinion. I'm gonna use a scenario where Doug hires a couple of kids to work next summer. He has to bring those to the board to be approved.
And that's what, I think, things like that, I just think it's overkill for who we are.
I don't where does it say that?
The selecting official, and then it goes, I'm sorry, number 4, interviews, hiring decisions, and notification. Present up all qualified, section 4, Bob, for consideration, interviews, and approval. So we would have to give him full authority to hire that particular position, is that what you're saying?
Yes, we could, or it would come to us, it's an either-or situation.
But I don't think it's either or, I think it says, so there's a selecting official, so is that one person? Because like John hired Terry. Do we now hire Terry and John doesn't have a say in
This
who
doesn't
his
say the
assistant
board.
is? I think it's just complicated
Oh,
because of
I see,
one
I see, I
unfortunate
see.
situation.
Well, that's why we're having this discussion, but
Right.
you know what? I think the reason we did this is because we want to have transparency and we want to make sure
But
that all our applicants
we would have
feel-
had this hiring policy, Bob, and that notice still wouldn't have went in the paper because it was a mistake. We were following this process without a policy, and a mistake was made and a notice didn't go in the paper. So then what would have happened? You know what I mean? I just
Again,
don't
I've
know.
never been in
I
an
think it was
organization,
created for the
a government organization that didn't have a hiring policy. And this thing started out at 2.5 pages, and it's down to being something really, really simple, so everybody understands it, and I don't object to it at all. Now, if you wanna change a little bit of section 4, I have no problem with that at all. But I do think, I've said it a million times, and I'm a new guy, so I may not know what I'm talking about, but we're not this little teeny township anymore. And, we got a lot of people looking at us. We wanna be fair, and if we have a consistent policy that the board can live with and the supervisors can live with, it's a win-win for us.
So I'm the second new guy, sorry. I'm the second
Good
new
for
guy,
you.
And I'm even newer than you are. And honestly, with the budget stuff that we've just been through the last few days, I've not had time to even dig into this.
Okay.
And I know you said it's been tabled before. There are a couple things that I don't like in here. I I would prefer to table it and maybe, I don't know, have a workshop or get together and look at this, whatever way we can legally, and take some of this stuff out.
Cause that's why I think if you don't wanna, I just don't think bogging it down.
I guess what my only thoughts are, is what Bob said, we are to a point where as a community, we keep seems like every week, every month, there's another half or quarter step forward, and I understand that, but I also see what Dawn says, she hasn't much, none of us, I mean, I've been over this, and I'm concerned about a couple of things in it, but,
Well, can I make a suggestion? Can't you all send your concerns to a central point way before a meeting?
Yeah,
So we
absolutely.
can get this out of the way and get it done,
Yeah,
because
I think that's,
Yeah, but I just got this yesterday, and you know what I've been
I got
doing
it,
with
I
budget.
understand that, I understand.
yeah.
Janet
And
understands.
that should have happened before it went to the attorney.
You know, we've had
Because
all
now
these
it's gonna
things
have to go
going,
back.
we've had too much stuff going on.
I don't know if it needs to go back to an attorney.
Well,
No,
No, I think we can just
You
take
think?
stuff out that we don't
Yeah.
necessarily
we
feel.
take
need.
stuff out, but we're gonna be
If
changing,
it's
just like you
just-
said,
No, cause
selecting
she just made suggestions on how to make it better.
Right.
She didn't really say, according to law, you can't do this or can't do that. So, and as far as your concern about Doug hiring someone and would have to come to the board, it says right in there, the first line, the selecting official will be designated with the township board, and it will be determined by the board to permit the selecting official to have full hiring authority for each employment position, or to be required to the selecting officer present the qualified applicant recommendations to the township board. So it would be able to allow Doug to hire someone in his department without having to come and recommend it to us. It'd be a case-by-case situation where we would determine whether it would have to come here or not.
and I will say, based on my personal experience over many years, section 6 is an imperative. That's why the lawyer had us put that in there.
Yes.
That's extremely important. We don't,
That's
do
federal
we
law.
have a written policy
It's federal law.
on EEO at all?
Well, we have posters, yeah, it's federal
Yeah,
law.
okay. Well, she put that in there for a reason.
Yeah.
So, I'll agree to table it. I'd just like to get through it.
I don't think it's,
Because I think it's a win-win if we just get it done.
yeah, like I said, it's not, I don't mean to be so nitpicky, but I think.
Post it online, boom, boom, boom.
Okay.
I make a motion we table.
I second.
Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
I don't know that we have any budget adjustments that may have been left in from the last template.
We thought we may have some, I think we put it on early in the week when we weren't sure where we were at.
Okay.
Since you're talking about budget, I just wanted to tell the rest of the board, I hope you aren't offended by my concerns and comments. It's just based on my own experience, and we're all honorable people. So please don't be angry with me.
Not at all. 18, set dates for regular meetings next year, next fiscal year. Second Tuesday of every month, first Tuesday of every, where am I?
Oh, we went to
First
Lake
Tuesday.
Fair.
Except for the 4th of July.
Does it come on a Tuesday this year?
I don't know.
We usually do July anyway, so.
Yeah, July, we usually do July at the end of June.
July.
Okay,
Uh,
good to go.
okay, so
Did you look at the holidays just in case?
We can look at them, but,
Let me get a
We
calendar.
just set the general date.
Oh, boy, 2021.
I'll make a motion to set the meeting dates for the first Tuesday of every month at 7 p.m.
I second that.
Jan says, all in favor?
Aye.
Okay, Janet, real brief, what is your concern about the voting machines?
Well-
I don't wanna get bogged down in this either,
Right,
so.
but there was a lot of comments about confidence in the voting, and it had nothing to do, the way I took it from the comments today, and I've attended other meetings, there was comment, has nothing to do with the personnel or the process that they follow. It has everything to do with whether or not machines may be corruptible. And it doesn't mean they were, it doesn't mean they weren't. And people wanna find out if they are capable of being corrupted. And I think it is imperative for us, as the owners of two machines, to to make sure that, the people have confidence that their vote is being counted, that they're not having, modems go into cell phone mode where no one even knows that they, are turned on and they're being hacked or anything. There's definite concern, and people need to trust the system, and I think it's up to us as a township board to make sure that the people that vote in this township knows that those machines are not going to be manipulated. Now, taking the fact that these machines, these Dominion machines, this was the first major election that they have ever been in use for. We haven't had them prior to any other presidential elections. We don't know. We don't know what we don't know. And I think it's imperative for us to find out. And it goes with transparency, it goes with trust of the system, it goes with the confidence of the voters. And I think that I'm under the impression there are forensic auditors that they wouldn't, this is what they do, because I've looked into this a little bit, and I'm not a computer expert, trust me on this. But what they do is they go in and they look at it, but they put a firewall there so no information can go in it. They can only take information out of it. And so they can determine if the modem was turned on remotely. And I mean, everybody knows to put tape over their computer because people can turn on the monitors and things like that without you even knowing it on your home computer. Well, this is the same kind of thing that there has been reports of other communities that this is a problem. So if it's suspected here, because it's the same kind of machines, I think it's imperative that we find out. And if there's an auditing company that would come in and do it for free, and they're accredited company, and yeah, we can have Dominion there too, if that's what they want to do, send a representative, who cares, transparency is good on all sides. But I think it's imperative that we look at them and just see, what if, and it's restoring confidence in the voters. Because I've heard it from many people. Why should I vote if I don't think it's gonna count? If someone else can hack into it and change my vote, why should we vote? Why should we vote? And we want everybody to vote and everybody to have confidence. And if it's not gonna cost us anything to do it, I don't see a problem.
Is there any more comments on that? Thank you, Jen. Okay, citizen comment. Ron, did you have a comment?
I don't think I'm first.
Well, who's first? Ken?
If you don't mind.
No, not at all.
So, first, I'd like to thank Dawn for stepping up to take up the rest of the position, the rest of the term vacated by Dolly Rodriguez. I really appreciate you doing that. Secondly, I'd like to thank Gordon for producing a balanced budget. What I tell people on the team that I work for is that numbers tell stories about people, and when we don't have a budget that constrains spending, that tells a story. The purpose of a budget isn't just to put a name on dollars. It is also part of an internal control system. Accounting systems are designed to accurately record transactions and to find mistakes quickly. If you have a budget that says that your rent is $1,000 a month and you look at your financial statement and you're over budget, you're gonna look for the mistake that happened, right? Because it's real easy. 6 months in, it should be $6,000. If it's $6,500, it's not right. And you're gonna do some investigating. If we have a budget that doesn't constrain spending, that doesn't hold people accountable for spending in their department, there is a higher chance that those errors will go undetected. And that's part of the internal control system that the auditors will come and look at in a few weeks. And it's part of the internal control system that they ask everyone on the board to sign a management rep letter that says that they support strong internal controls. So that's my expectation, having taken lots of Yellow Book classes, having been the auditor that comes in and asks the questions. I had some hope this year. I appreciate some of the members of the board stepping up to constrain the spending and not to continue to sort of play games with budget numbers. I think that's all I have. So thanks for your time.
Thank you, Jen.
Thank you, Janet, for giving voice to our citizen concerns. Rasmussen, a couple weeks ago, said that 55% of the American people believe that there was fraud in this election. It's not an issue that's going away. In fact, it's probably only gaining steam, and you have to ask yourself why the state of Michigan is so reticent to do something to allow us to see into the machines when even their own laws say we have the right. We could have a team here within 24 hours. They need 20 minutes. They can open up the machine. They can see if there was a modem or not. As I said, the GOP, or the Emmett County clerk said in the GOP meeting last night that they had a Verizon wireless modem in their tabulator. And all the clerks have been saying forever, because Dominion told them there were no modems, there were no modems, there were no modems. I have the documentation in my FOIA request from the county. We could have a team here in 20 minutes. You could invite Dominion, election source who represents Dominion. And I think it's fair that we look at that. They go into the hardware, they see if there's any modem and what connectivity was there. Then they go into the software, and as Janet said, yes, the firewall, they're not accessing anything having to do with the ballots whatsoever. And they go into the digital logs and see if the telecommunications towers and everything else, and they can ping it back all the way to, like they're saying, Taiwan and Germany, hacked into the Michigan computers. As you don't have the same clerk, some of you on the board may have certified that election. I think it's important that, and it'd be nice if whatever you feel authority you have tonight, or whatever hoops you would need to go through, that we could do that sooner rather than later. Because we do have other townships that are interested in this, and we could get a team here at the same time, and rather than wait another month. I just think it would show a lot to the people of this community that you're willing to look at that and be very transparent about the entire process. It has nothing to do with our people whatsoever. It's in the machines. So I don't know, you didn't ask for a motion or anything like that. I believe, Mike, if you certified the election with the clerk, you would be able to, whoever certified the last election, the November election with the clerk, would be able to say, yes, we can provide our machine, and we could meet with Don and bring the appropriate Dominion or election source rep and a forensic team. 1 or 2 people at the most on the forensic team. Wouldn't
Thank
take
you.
much. Thank you.
Ron, I'm sorry.
If you would look at your agenda, look at item 6, look at item 7, then look at item 8, public hearing for fiscal year. Where's the public comment for that? Was that an oversight, or was that intentional?
No, I don't think it was intentional. Didn't we have?
But yet at the beginning of the meeting, Mike, I asked you to add public comment earlier, and you said no because the interest of time, so I gotta ask myself. Please don't spend a dime, a penny of township money on the flag issue. I may agree with all of you that it's offensive, but it's settled law. It's the First Amendment. The guy's got the right to say whatever he wants, and there's nothing we can do about it. It's a losing issue. Get off it. You don't like it, don't look at it, don't read it. Even though I agree with them, it's offensive to me too, but please don't spend any township money on it. I was glad to see that you added a correspondence item, but the only thing you mentioned was the flag. There was a FOIA request on the 24th, which was between the last public meeting and this public meeting. You guys responded to it. You didn't mention it in correspondence. Why not? And I have it right here in my hand. And it talks about the destruction of public documents. So please address that down the road. I have 2 more comments. One is on the board action from 6/23. The other is on the annual budget meeting from 6/24. Forgive me if it's a little repetitive, but I say it for the people in the audience. There's not been a newspaper come out since then, just because of the dates. So if you weren't at those meetings as I was, you may not know. I really want to question the 3 board members who voted to affirm Miss Webb, to the position of clerk. It was created by the chaotic and still secretive and undiscussed early departure of Clerk Rodriguez for reasons yet unknown. You voted on it on June 23rd at a special meeting. You disregarded the will of 232 township voters who expressed their choice and opinion in the general election. You disregarded 2 letters to the editor that were in the resorter the week prior. You rescheduled a meeting with 2 days' notice that had been previously scheduled for 10 days that originally gave 12 days' notice, that made no mention of the position posting or description about interviews or questions and answers. You all had the option to table or reschedule that board action to allow equal access to both interested parties, one of whom ran for the very position in the general election 8 months ago, but you did not. You silenced public comment in an open meeting because it wasn't voiced at the appropriate time, sort of like tonight, even though the comments pertain to the upcoming vote and the public comment section would come after the vote. This isn't a criticism of Mrs. Webb, and I previously thanked her for stepping up and volunteering for this thankless and undercompensated part-time position. It is most definitely a criticism of the board, who do things because they can, not because they should. They should have rescheduled that vote to allow equal access, but they didn't. I've previously used some not too complimentary terms to describe these board actions, and this is another example of what I was referring to. Self-serving decisions that almost seem orchestrated, pre-planned, decided outside the scope and forum of a public meeting. Now, this is just my opinion, but you gotta ask yourself, ethics, accountability, transparency, and doing the right thing for the township residents seems to be the lost focus here. And it's being replaced with doing what's right for the board, to silence dissension or to provide fresh or opposing views. Ethics, accountability, transparency. The annual budget workshop that took place on 6/24 at 1 o'clock totally shifted gears here. I really want to thank the full board for what I felt was an incredibly productive annual budget workshop. The atmosphere was one of cooperation. The decorum displayed by all of the parties was extremely encouraging. The only audience members present were myself and Mr. Swanson. And then I heard a comment tonight, quote, "What did you guys do at the annual meeting?" Really? You know who wasn't at the annual meeting?
No.
The one that was scheduled a year in advance, or scheduled once a year, far in advance, months in advance, and one that logically you would think would require the presence of the entire board. The township treasurer, 1/5 of the board, wasn't at the meeting. Now, admittedly, it's not her budget. It's the statutory responsibility of the supervisor, and it's much more dependent on the input of the clerk, not the treasurer. The clerk was there doing her very best to keep up, considering she had been appointed and sworn into the position literally the day before. And I think she did an admirable job at that meeting, considering the timing. This situation is even more disturbing and ironic because at the special meeting held just the day before, on Wednesday the 23rd, the treasurer was openly critical of the other candidate for not making herself available for an interview that was never requested and a question and answer session that was never announced. To be clear, the public notice in the May 27th resorter said, and I quote, "Notice of vacancy to fill the position of Tuscarora Township Clerk. Applications and resumes will be accepted until June 10th, 2021, after which the board will call a special meeting to appoint the individual to fill the position until the November election of 2022. Did you hear any mention of interviews or of wanting an opportunity to question the applicants? I didn't. Then, the deadline was inexplicably extended to June 22nd. That notice, which came in the form of a press release on June 8th, said, and I quote, "We will begin the search for a new clerk immediately. Those interested can submit a resume to the township. Applications will be accepted through June 22nd, end quote." Did you hear any mention of interviews or the opportunity to question the applicants? I didn't. Was the new clerk's appointment legal? Absolutely. Was it done fairly, equitably, morally, and in the township's best interest? Or did the 3 people who voted for it do the right thing? You decide. But in my mind, the hypocrisy isn't just the elephant in the room, it's the whole room, and it's this board's legacy.
Thank you for your good public comment. Any more public comment?
Over here, Mike.
Yes, Patrick.
Pat McGinnis. On the voting machines, I agree with Janet. We've got to question the integrity of the machines. At the same time, I think we have to question the integrity of anyone who inspects the machines. We've got to make sure they are qualified, as you clearly pointed out. The other one, Dawn, welcome to the board. I have to question your sanity, maybe. Coming to this quagmire, and we only wish you the best.
Public comment? Yes, Vicki, go ahead.
Vicki Losh, I just want to speak to the gentleman, just speak to the issue about the flag. I think we sort of missed the point on the flag. The flag is offensive to some, it's not offensive to some. The thing that made me saddest was that the gentleman that wrote the letter felt he had to write an anonymous letter and couldn't express that he was offended by the flag. So I think that was the issue more than the other. And that made me very sad. And then on a positive note, I think the street looks great. I've got family coming in next week and I can't wait for them to see Indian River.
Public comment? Okay, public comment is closed. Board comments? All right, anybody? Go ahead, Bob.
I just want to, I just want to thank the members of the public for their indulgence and for being respectful to each other. And I think it was a really good session, unlike some of the ones we've had in the past. And I just want to tell you, I appreciate the incredible decorum that you've all displayed. And thank you very much for coming.
Board comment, Ron, don't worry about us spending money on that flag.
Yeah.
That was, it's been settled, I mean, I understand that. It actually has something to do with what he wrote underneath that, what was on the flag and everything, it's protected as well. So, don't worry about us
And
spending.
the letter to the editor in the resort was signed.
There's this letter that was not signed, anonymous right here. Okay. Any more comments? Don, welcome. Okay, motion to adjourn?
I know her, she's not crazy.
Is there a motion to adjourn?
I make motion.
Jan makes motion. I second it.